How's it going, everyone? Thank you so much for tuning in for another Marvel Rivals video. I want to just start by saying thank you for taking a little bit of time out of your day today to hang out with me. I appreciate it very, very much. We've got some new cosmetics released today. The Phoenix Knight, for me, this is looking pretty good. This is looking pretty awesome. I don't even play as Moon Knight, but to be honest, part of me is kind of thinking about picking this up and learning him just so I can flex this cosmetic in my gameplay. But for this video today, we are going to be talking about something really important in this game, and we're even going to be dipping into a little bit of a tier list. Now, I don't know about you guys, but my inner nerd is absolutely loving putting together these slideshows. It seems like you guys like them too. I've been having a really positive experience about the change that I've made to these new videos and just like kind of upping the production value of them here, but I'm having a lot of fun with it, and it helps keep me organized. I know I can ramble sometimes and even repeat myself a little bit sometimes, so this is a really good way for me to just kind of stay on track and make sure that I'm progressing this video along in an efficient way and I'm not distracting myself or losing myself in my own thoughts. So this video is going to be an expansion on improving positioning, and then we're also, like I mentioned, going to be doing a little bit of a hero priority tier list. Now, this tier list is going to be a little bit different than normal because it does not include my opinion whatsoever. This is not based on, what I think, what I see in my own personal lobbies. This is going to be put together with facts that we have right in front of us, and this is going to be coming from the Marvel Rivals Ignite tournament that we're going to be looking at. So let's just quickly talk about what to expect in this video. I've got chapters set up. They are itemized in the description. I've been doing this in all of my videos for quite a bit now. It's just going to be a little bit easier for you guys to recall things I've talked about or touch on, different things, revisit different conversations much more simplistically, right? So in this video, we're going to be doing a brief tier list, which I already mentioned. We're going to talk about the new rotation. So outside of what would be considered the actual like meta picks and bans, we're going to be looking at who else is showing up in lieu of other options. I've got some gameplay I'm going to incorporate here when we're talking about the positioning, and we're also going to do a little bit of a stats chat. Now, stats are complex, and I feel like sometimes the way that I explain them, maybe I'm not like super clear about how I actually view stats. So we're gonna dive into that a little bit more. I think that's probably the topic that I have the most back and forth in a constructive way, back and forth conversations with people about, whether it just be like different viewpoints or disagreements or something. So we're going to talk a little bit more about stats, and I'm going to show you how I look at them and just some other avenues where you can look at your stats as well, so you can try to understand what those stats are telling a little bit better. Before we pop into the tier list, guys, I hit 1,000 subs. Thank you all so much for your support, for believing in me, for being here on this journey with me. As I've mentioned multiple times, my wife challenged me to make this channel and told me I could game more if I built a YouTube channel, and I said, you know what, let's do it. I'll try this out. Why not? And I'm just overwhelmed with appreciation for everything that you guys have done for me as far as like commenting, watching my videos, sharing your thoughts with me. My Discord is up and running right now too, and we had like over 20 people join it yesterday when I first announced it. We've got people in there chatting about the game, sharing highlights and clips, and even had people playing together last night in the Discord chat. So it's just amazing. This is everything that I want from this. I want to have a really fun and cool community, and man, you guys are just really showing up for me, so thank you so much. So I've been watching a lot of the Marvel Rivals tournament that's going on right now. It's called Ignite, and I grabbed some screenshots from the games that I was watching yesterday, and it opened up when I was watching, I believe it was the EMEA or maybe it was the NA tournament, I don't recall, but they had these screenshots at the beginning of the video, and I was like, oh man, I gotta take a screenshot of this for myself, because this is extremely important to see, and this is something that I was talking about previously in another video. If you really want to sit down and say, who are the most important heroes in the game to learn and ban, the best way to do that is to look at who people are playing as when they're playing for money. This is very, very telling. When you've got money on the line, people aren't there to mess around. They're not trying to goof around or, pick random heroes and do the meme plays. You're not seeing, Spider-Man hanging out at the spawn trying to pull people off the map. No, you're not seeing stuff like that. You are seeing people actually make intelligent choices on the heroes that they want to main and who they don't want the enemy team to have access to. Now, for Domination, Convoy, and Convergence, we do see a little bit of a difference in pick frequency overall, but it doesn't really change too much, right? Like, it's pretty clear across the board who people are prioritizing. Magneto, Cloak and Dagger, Emma, Luna, Punisher. We're seeing the majority of these here actually being vanguards and strategists, with Punisher being included in here as well. Now, obviously, these teams do have kind of a revolving door of who they're picking as the duelist, but for the most part here, what we can take away from this is just how clearly important the vanguards and the strategists are right now. They are the highest priority picks. And when we pop over here into the ban rate, you're going to see that the same thing is true here. However, it's reversed, right? Now the highest ban rates are seemingly the strategists, and then the vanguards have a place in there scattered around as well. Now, it's no secret that who you choose to main and who you choose to ban will potentially greatly impact how a match is played out and what the outcome of that match is. And this is a conversation that I've been having with friends and just people in my lobbies as well. Why are we banning duelists? There are so many duelist options to choose from. You're not really making a big impact when you do that. Like, okay, you have the very best Hela player on the enemy team, and so you want to ban Hela. They're just going to play Punisher or Star-Lord. Like, you don't think that someone who's extremely good at Hela is also not extremely good at another hero that's maybe a little bit more simple to use? Hela's pretty difficult. She's pretty unforgiving. You don't have as much of a grace in hitting and missing shots, I feel like, as you have with some other people. And that would make sense because her damage output is so high. The highest value for bans is coming from the heroes that are actually having the largest impact on team fights, and those are vanguards and primarily strategists. That's why we're seeing the bans for them be so high in the tournament. They don't want to deal with Loki copying Luna. They don't want to deal with Loki copying Cloak. They just don't want to deal with it. And I don't blame them either. It's insane when you have a Loki that really knows what they're doing and there's a Luna available as well. It is just so tough to break through that. Take note of these screenshots because, like I said, this is not my opinion. This is what we are seeing in the tournament happening right now, and these guys are playing for money, okay? They're making meta moves here on who they're banning and who they're choosing to play as. Something that I'm seeing often in the Marvel Rivals Ignite live stream chats is the request for an explanation on the pick and ban process. It looks different in the tournament than it looks, well, when we just play competitive within the game. This is because they've structured it in a different way, which I think is way better. And I think that they should adopt this into the game itself. So the way that it works is whoever your team bans is still available to your team. You're only making bans for the other team. So if we ban Luna, we can still pick Luna, but the enemy team cannot. They also have a protection phase where you're able to basically, well, protect one hero from, well, two for each team, but you're able to protect them from getting banned. Okay, even if their first pick was Strange, you could protect him at the very end of your sequence of the ban phase, and then you could still be Strange. That is pretty awesome. I don't know why they don't do this in game, but this is such a clean method to do this. And I think it would make the competitive side of Marvel Rivals for the rest of like the player pool better. I think this would improve the matchmaking situation. So let me know what your thoughts are on this, but I really do think that this should be adopted into the game. Like, as soon as you can ban, I think that this should be adopted. So this is my straightforward visualization of what we're seeing right now based on the data that we have from watching the Marvel Rivals Ignite tournament and those screenshots that they provided. Now, you're going to see heroes on here that were not a part of that list. Some of them have a revolving door. We've also got bans to be considered here. So, when a hero's banned a lot, they don't show up in a high pick rate, obviously. But what we're seeing here pretty much, and none of this is in any specific order either, I just put them in here. The tournament-based meta, what I see the most in watching these games are these heroes. Anytime these strategists can be picked, they're picked. Anytime these tanks can be picked, they're picked. And anytime these duelists can be picked, there's a revolving door around them. Certain players have a preference for different heroes. So, some of them like to play Psylocke, some like to play Hela. They're present. They're not getting picked as often as, these three tanks, let's say, but that's because these three tanks right now are pretty widely considered to be the best vanguards in the game. So they're getting picked all the time. But then you have people, swapping around between the duelists based on how they need to fill a need. I would say that we're seeing a lot of Torch and a lot of Wolverine, maybe a little bit more so than the rest of them. These two have really popped up in this tournament as extremely valid and important picks. But this is really what we're seeing here as far as the meta is concerned. And then in the rotation, this is who I am seeing people swap to. And again, not in any particular order, but these are the preferential swaps that we're seeing show up. Now, there is something else as far as like making a decision on who to have on your team goes, and that's the team ups. Team ups can be very important, and there is one team up specifically that is proving to be far more valuable than I guess I would have ever realized, and we're going to talk about that. All right, so popping into the team ups here, it's the Guardian Revival. We are seeing this in the tournament used very effectively, very often. Not only is getting a full team res extremely valuable from Adam Warlock, but getting additional res by having the team up is just, it's insane. So if we look at the team up abilities here, so Adam Warlock is enhancing the rebirth power of Star-Lord and Mantis, granting them the power of Khund Revival. They can come back at will due to his passive. It's just insane. It's just insane. It makes sense that we're seeing this combo showing up. I actually saw some games when I was watching yesterday where they were banning Mantis to stop this from happening. Mantis has proven to be a very formidable DP, like off DPS strategist. So I understand why they're picking her. Plus the sleep mechanic is extremely powerful, but this team up, guys, don't ignore it. It is very powerful. If you have a team of people that you play with and you can start bringing this to the table in competitive, you're gonna start making waves. In addition to the meta picks and heroes in rotation, I've also included a little visualization here of the tournament banning meta. This is more or less who we are seeing get banned and protected, pretty much based on the games I've watched. I've watched quite a few. I don't watch the streams live as they're happening because there's a lot of time between them, but I will go back and watch them once they're complete or like halfway through, so I can speed through all of that and just get right to the hero choice selection and banning selection, and then I can just watch the gameplay and see how it plays out. So this is what the bans look like as far as the tournament is concerned, and this is what the picks look like as far as the tournament is concerned. Like these being the highest priority, these being, you know, let's fill, let's make swaps, let's make some changes, and then bans, it's looking like this. If you want to change the way that competitive feels when you are just playing in-game, start banning these heroes. Clearly there's something to it, right? Now we're going to pop into positioning overview. This is a very, very important topic to talk about, and I have touched on it before, but not quite in depth in the way that I'm going to right now. The struggle with positioning, in my opinion, is that it's the hardest skill in this game to master. Knowing where to be, how to utilize the map, how to move around the map, how to advantage yourself and protect yourself by using the map and using where you choose to be a part of that fight is extremely, extremely important. It can make or break your game. This is the way that you control the flow, the momentum, the way you cut paths off, the way that you protect teammates, the way that you hold an objective. It all comes down to positioning. I've got some little tips here to help you guys improve, and keeping these in mind will definitely make you play better individually and be there more often for your team in a more consistent way. So utilizing cover, don't always count on your tanks to be protecting you. There's tons of cover provided by the maps of like indestructible areas that you can use to peek from. This is a very, very important strategy for your personal gameplay to help keep yourself protected. And then as a result, you don't have to rely on your teammates so much to keep you out of harm's way. Knowing your routes, this is very relevant to every single map. How you get in and out of the fights changes everything. Health packs. Health packs are not just for Spider-Man. They're not just for the divers. Positioning yourself in a way where you can get health packs when someone's diving you or the enemy team is pushing up on you and you didn't notice quite yet, so you're a little slow to retreat. Knowing how to get to a health pack can swing something for you. If you are in a 1v1 and you are luring somebody back as they're pushing you because you know you're getting back to a health pack, you can find yourself advantaged at that point and you can end up winning that 1v1 just because you were able to heal yourself and they were out of range for their healers or out of sight for their healers. This is a really big deal. You also can utilize health pack spawn management to keep it so that the enemy team doesn't have quick access to those health packs. Hanging out in areas and protecting areas where there are a lot of health packs available can certainly help you to do better just because you're keeping health on yourself and you're keeping them away from that free healing. Those health packs do massive healing. It's not to be ignored. So using them for yourself and then using them just because you don't want the enemy team to get them are very, very valid strategic moves. Also pay attention to your elevation options. Just because you're a ground hero, right? You're not a flyer. It doesn't mean that you're stuck down there at the objective level. There are tons of areas on the map where you can advantage different elevations to peak and just change your positioning in a way that would surprise the enemy team. We're going to hop into some gameplay that I have here. I'm going to show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. Here's a good example of elevated positioning with Rocket. Now, I know that this spot is no secret, but I honestly don't see people using it a lot. And I think because it's not a secret, people are a little afraid of utilizing it. But you're able to be up here with the beacon, and especially when you have a Penny Parker on your team, you're giving yourself like a little bit of added protection because now your beacon is producing the mines. If you don't know this about Rocket, bouncing the healing orbs at your teammates' feet produces double the healing. It hits them, it hits the ground, it hits them again. So having an elevated positioning as Rocket makes him a far better healer. Just in case you guys don't know what I'm talking about with Rocket's healing, getting a double hit, I just wanted to pop in here in the practice range to show you. So here's a single, right? If you shoot at their feet, see how you get 2 right there? If you didn't know that already, you're welcome. Now you still need to watch out for the divers, like Black Panther here. He hasn't really realized I'm up here yet, at least I don't think so, because he had an opportunity to come up here, and this would have been a better time for him to do it because my beacon was down. But people can get up there, right? You're not the only one that can get up. So you always have to make sure that you are watching your back and you're ready to get to your team so that they can protect you from the divers as is needed. I would say right about now is the moment they realized I was up here, and I'd been up here for quite a while, but look at Cat just standing there staring at me. So this is when the decision to try to take me out happened. All right, Black Panther is sneaking up on me right now, and he's gonna go for the dive, and it's not gonna work. The beauty of having all these mines set up here and having some mines down below from a previous beacon setup is that once he fell off, there was no way that he was even going to get back up. And even if he had accurately hit me here based on my positioning, he would have gone into the mines up top and I still would have gotten the elim on him. So this is just a really good example of how I'm utilizing the kit that I have available to me to position it in the way where I can have the highest output of healing on my team by healing from above, and I can protect myself because I have my beacon, which now has the mines because of the team up with Penny Parker. I've opened up this custom game here so we can talk about elevation, health pack management, and positioning a little bit more, and I can give you just like some real-time examples. So when I play as Jeff on this map, or healers just in general, I like to stay back here. This cannot be broken. So you have permanent cover here. You can just peek and heal, and then I will move forward here, and then I like to use this wall to do the same. When this is broken out here, you have a good angle to shoot through here, but you still have protection from this barrier. There are health packs everywhere. There's a health pack right here. You've got another one extremely close right there. There's one back here too, behind that wall to the left. You've got one here, here. You have one down here. And then you also have a health pack right here. There are so many health packs in this area, and this can make it extremely easy for the divers to be coming into your area here when you're on defense or, when you're on offense, either way. And they have all these routes to just escape, and there are health packs everywhere. So by positioning yourself in a way where you can kind of control the use of these health packs, I'll also heal from here sometimes, like if we're pushed up a little bit more. It's just easy this way with like movement and everything to like pop around, change my elevation a little bit, and just keep the enemy guessing where I'm going to be. Because when you're always in the same spot, you're just peeking here. Eventually they're going to start timing that peak, and they're going to get you. But if you're changing your elevation here and you're using like actual natural cover, like this can't be broken either, you're giving yourself a huge advantage against the enemy team. You have the element of surprise. They don't know where you're going to be. They don't know when you're going to peak. And then you're also cutting off this health pack and then access to this one. This is a very common route for divers to take. It's also very common for the divers to go up through here and then take the staircase down, right? You have the staircase that is right over here to the left. They'll come in through here, but they have so much access to health that they don't even need their team to be getting. So by actively taking these, or just making sure that they're not getting them, there's just so much value in that. By changing elevation, you've got quite a few options. Now, obviously with Jeff, it's much easier to do this than with other heroes, but keeping elevation in mind is extremely important. This is what gives you a bit more of an element of surprise, and it stops you from being so predictable. By utilizing these different areas to heal from, dropping back down here after you get seen, using this to peek again, using the bus to peek as well. These are just really good ways. Like I said, just keep the enemy guessing. Make it hard for them to target you. Make it hard for them to be aware of where you are. And it helps you support your team a little bit better by understanding the routes that you have in front of you, how to maneuver through them. And then it also provides you a lot more cover because then you have different methods of getting in and out of the fight. Very commonly, I will see people just default to the same spot. They'll hang out here, as an example, they get some shots on them, they dip back here for a second, and they come right back to the same spot. Why not come up here? Why not change your location? This is going to be the way that you start to find yourself controlling the way that a fight is going. If you become a hero that they are trying so hard to get and can't, you're making the enemy team waste so much time. And that is the power of positioning, giving yourself more time to control the objective and control the space that you are fighting in at the moment. Now, just two other points that I want to talk about in regards to positioning, and I did mention these very briefly during the gameplay that you guys just saw: predictability and accessibility. Don't be predictable. By changing your elevation, by utilizing different paths, by just working the map a little bit differently and using cover, you take away from some of that predictability of your gameplay. Don't just default to the same spots every time. Don't just run away to come right back to the same spot. Change your angle. Work the map a little bit differently so the enemy doesn't know where to expect you to be. If they can expect you to be somewhere, you are instantly at a disadvantage. It doesn't matter how good that spot is. If they're looking for you there, it's not a good spot anymore. And then accessibility. How easy is it for the enemy team to get you where you are? Is it easy for you to escape? Do you have a clear line of sight to your team? Do you have a clear line of sight to where the enemy team is going to be coming from? Are you in an area where there are a lot of entry points? You might want to rethink some of your favorite spots by hopping into a custom game like I did and just analyzing the area that you feel like you like to play in. Swim around a little bit, as Jeff, just so you can, traverse the map a little bit more quickly. But look at the different angles and the different areas of the map that you could be utilizing instead. Sometimes we default to the same spots because it's comfortable. It feels like it works the majority of the time, but just because it's comfortable, it doesn't mean that it's the best spot. You want to make sure that you're not being predictable and you are not easily accessible. Now, this is a little bit different, right? When we're talking about different roles. As tanks, you still want to use the map as protection. You still want to use the objective as protection as well. There's always a place that you can use map provided cover. It's just a little bit different, right? Because tanks are supposed to be in the fight. So you're more concerned about, am I still positioned in a way where my healers can see me? And that's hard to know because you're not looking back. It's important to look back sometimes as tanks just to make sure, but I feel like just understanding the map a little bit better, and that's something that I talked about before. When you don't understand the map well, that causes some positioning problems. The more you learn about the map, the more you learn about where fights are happening, the more you can be sure that as a tank, you're not accidentally having your healers lose sight of you. Now, positioning for duelist characters, you just want to make sure that you are not very accessible and not predictable. You want to be surprising the enemy using the flank angles, and then you're still in an area where you can get to your tanks or get to your healers as is needed. As healers, you want to be in the back line, working some of the flank angles a little bit as well, and just making sure that you have proper routes of escape, just like the duelist. Being able to escape for those two roles is very, very important. For the tanks, escaping, more or less, most of the time, tank dependent, I suppose, it's coming back to you as the strategist. So I don't want this to sound like I'm making these positioning claims because I'm a strategist main and it only, applies to the strategist. Most of this is universal, but with tanks, you want to be on the objective. So for that instance, it's more just about making sure you're utilizing cover to protect you from the enemy team and not accidentally having map provided cover stop you from getting healed. So there's just like a little bit of like tweak in like how you enter the fights and stay in the fights. But overall, if you follow these tips, you're definitely going to see your gameplay improve. Doesn't matter what the role is, you will see an improvement, trust me. Okay, let's have the stat chat. Look, I have been pretty outspoken in my videos that I don't feel like you can look at stats and validate gameplay based on them. And I stand by that. Stats can be relevant and they can be equally irrelevant. This isn't a black and white conversation here. It's not, cut and dry. There's a lot that goes into this. The problem that I have with stats is the way that most people perceive them. It's so easy to look at final hits or your damage assists. Some people think the damage assists are kills. They're not. To look at those and then validate not changing, to validate not swapping, to have a reason to blame your teammates for what's going on. Stats are somewhat of an indication of how the match went, to how your individual play was impactful or not impactful, but it doesn't tell the whole story. There's so much more going on behind the scenes in regards to stats that has to be considered. It's not just what you see, the scoreboard that you see at the end of the game. That is not indicative of what happened. Now, obviously, when you win and everyone plays super well, they're like, oh yeah, look at the stats. That's why this went so well. Well, yes and no. Yes and no. There's so many more things that happen in game that change things. You can have the highest, final hit count in your lobby, but the game was won by support ults, or the game was won by one epic Jeff ult at some point that removed every enemy teammate from the objective area, and then you were finally able to take it back, finally able to win the game when everything that was happening prior wasn't doing that for you. It's just really important to take everything into consideration here and really just not weight things so heavily on that scoreboard that you see at the end of the game. So maybe that's more like what I want to say, is that the scoreboard that you see after a match isn't as important as you think it is. Well, because it's not. There's another avenue that you can look at to look at your stats to get a much broader perspective of what your gameplay looks like. And we're going to take a look at that. It's the Marvel Rivals tracker. Everyone has access to this. It's free to use. You can look yourself up. You can look everybody up. As long as their profile's not private, you can see everybody else's stats. So I'll bear my stats to you, and I'll put the link for this website in the description as well. So here is the Marvel Rivals stats tracker. This is my specific page. I have it set to competitive. This is where you can look at past games. You can get a little bit more of an in-depth look at your stats. Like this is more or less what you're seeing when you look at your stats in game. But this is just a good spot to like reference this. So you can, often I keep this up and I just kind of like keep an eye on it day by day to see how things are changing and where things are moving, what numbers I'm seeing go up so I can work on some different things. This is a really good space to look at, well, your trajectory in the game, to recall some of the stats. And when you look at your stats here, it looks different than when you look at it in game. You have a little bit more available to you. You get to see a breakdown of the final hits, so you know exactly what that comes from. Did you do all the work yourself? Was it a headshot, or was it just the last hit? When we're looking at this for an example, it would be easy for this Hela, if we lost, let's say, and the player wanted to be toxic about it, to say, look at all of my final hits. What are you guys doing? Well, not to say that getting the final hit that actually is the elimination isn't important, because of course it is. You know, I had more solo than she did. This is my point. There's just, there are so many more things at play here to understand. And until you are actually able to look at a full breakdown of what your specific stats look like, you shouldn't be using the end game scorecard to make any sort of validation whatsoever. Like, yes, people have good games, people have bad games. Sometimes you can look and say like, wow, like our diver went 19 and 19. That's not helpful whatsoever. And no, that's not. When you're just trading, you're not gaining any advantage really. So sure, some things you can look at and say like, okay, this should have been different. This should have been different, whatever. But overall, I would say the end game scorecard, it's not as telling as most people think it is. Also in here, you have the ability to look at more stats right here. If I click on this, it brings up a whole tab over here that shows all kinds of different stats, and it details everything. You can find all kinds of stuff in here. So this is something I would just really recommend taking a look at, because you're able to get a better overview of what you are providing, what kind of impact you are having. Now, you can make comparisons, right? But try to make those comparisons with other players based on how many games they've had played. So I've played 133 competitive matches in 2.5. I guess this would be specific to this season. Let me check and make sure it's set to that. Yeah, so that would be specific to 2.5. If you want to find somebody else that plays a similar role to you that you could check and look at, or not a similar role, but plays the same role as you primarily, and look at their matches played, and it's more or less the same, it would be worth making a comparison to say, okay, well, where am I lacking? Like, what if you do that and it's like, wow, they have a lot more healing than I do. I need to be better at healing. Wow, they have less deaths than I do. I got to be more careful about how often I'm dying. This is a really good tool if you want to nerd out, if you want to really look at the stats available to you and then utilize those stats to help you become a better player. This is a phenomenal website. Like I said, I've got the website in the description below. Open it up, look at your stats, do the deep dive into these things, because you'll learn a lot more about how your gameplay is by looking at this website than you will by looking at the scorecard. Stats don't tell the whole story. The only real way to know how effective every player was on your team was to go back and rewatch the video and watch how every encounter happened for every player on your team and how they handled it and where things were lacking or what mistakes were made. Just looking at the scorecard, it doesn't cut it. It doesn't. You have to actually review the gameplay to truly know what that impact or lack of impact was like. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. I had a lot of fun putting this one together. Like I said, I've been nerding out over, well, Marvel Rivals in general, but also just like putting together these slideshows. I think it's really fun. And I love that you guys are enjoying this other level of production and this style of video too. So if you have not subscribed yet, please take a moment to do so. I would love to have you guys on board for my journey here on YouTube. I'm having so much fun with this. If you have not joined the Discord yet, I've got the link in the description. It's also in my channel channel bio as well. So hop in there. It's a nice, friendly, really enjoyable environment to hang out in. There's a space to share clips. There are chat rooms if you want to team up with people. Everyone's just like chatting and hanging out, and it's been a lot of fun already. So you guys are welcome to join. I'd love to have you there, and I'd love to have you on board as I continue to progress and grow this channel. Thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next video.